All right, hello everyone. Hope everyone's having a great week, or you've had a great week. It's Friday, going to be the weekend soon, and hopefully you're not having to work for the man on the weekend. But if you are, hey, I'm sorry about that. I have to work for him too. What we have here, I had a user who requested a minimal Xfce version of MiyoLinux. And those of you who know me, you know that I'm not a desktop environment user. So I hope it's not too basic. This is what you'll see when you boot up. Now you won't see my beautiful face, but you'll see this background and a couple of launchers on the desktop, one for the welcome screen and one for the installer. Now the welcome screen will open automatically. I've already closed it because I set up some things here because I'm running this live. This isn't installed yet, but we're going to install it. Now before I go any further, the user requested an EFI version, 64-bit EFI. So that's what I've made. However, when you look at the welcome screen, you'll see that you can actually install this on a BIOS computer. And that's what I'm going to show today. I'm going to install it on a BIOS computer, even though the ISO is an EFI version. It'll boot up on either one. It'll boot up on an EFI computer or a BIOS. There's just a few commands you have to run to change it over so that you can install it on a BIOS computer. So I just want to get that out of the way. So let me pull up the welcome screen and we will look at that real quick. Talk about how you can install it. Even though it's built by request as EFI, you can install it on a 64-bit computer. As always, like every release of MiyoLinux, there's not much pre-installed. Well, on Xfce, there's a lot pre-installed as far as settings and stuff like that. Now, I built it in such a way that you can install, you don't have to necessarily install Xfce, oh gosh, what's the word? I'll just say applications. You don't necessarily have to install applications that are associated with Xfce. You can install whatever applications you want, such as for this this video, I installed gpicview because I want to show you a picture of the first boot. How much RAM it was using. Normally I think on Xfce they use Ristretto for their image viewer. I installed gpicview. Okay, now down here on the welcome screen, I want to encourage you just to read over this. You have some quick link launchers down here, one for the live user notes, and that is where you're going to find the instructions if you want to try this system on a BIOS computer, 64-bit. That's where you'll find the instructions. The release notes, if you saw the last video I did about wondering why there was high RAM usage, and of course eznix came through, and I give him all the credit, not only on SourceForge where you can download the ISO, but I give him credit in the release notes also. That's where you can get the fix to fix the high RAM usage on Xfce. And you have to do it, I think you could probably do it here in the live session, and then once you reboot, your RAM will be back to normal. But I gave it as though you installed the system, and after you installed it, run the command and then reboot. Okay, so you can change your keyboard layout in the live session if if you're not using the US keyboard layout by default, you can click on that and just scroll through here and choose one of the keyboard layouts that you need. And then you can click OK, or you can just close it out, whatever. Network connections, as every release of MiyoLinux uses, it uses CMST as the network manager. That will open CMST and you can connect to your wireless network if needed. Wired connections should connect automatically, or you can just start the installer from here. If you're using UEFI, you can click here and just go ahead and get started installing it if you want to. Whew, okay. Anyway, as I was saying, I had a user. His name's Marcus. I'm not going to go any more in detail about that. Marcus asked me to make an Xfce version of MiyoLinux, and I decided to do that. So Marcus, I hope this works well for you. Now, I did notice a couple of things. When I first booted this live session, the volume was muted. I don't know why. So you'll have to click on the icon here and turn this little switch to the on, okay? So it will enable your volume. You get a clock, you get a shutdown menu that will pop up. Show desktop over here on the left, the terminal, the Thunar file manager. And while we're at it, let me just go ahead. I'm going to show you the picture of what the RAM usage was when I first booted. Alright, I'm going to go full screen on this. You might can see it there, but I'm going to increase the size some, just so it'll be a little easier to see. And you can see it was using 600 megabytes of RAM, which I feel is just too high. I think it was Colin of PCTLC that he said, "You're too used to window managers," or something to that effect. And maybe I am, but hey, you know, if a system doesn't have to use RAM, then why use it? I mean, I know it's there to be used, but if you don't have to use it, then why use it? Maybe I'm just more used to having really bad computers up until now, where I really had to eke out some RAM. Anyway, after we run the fix that eznix provided, that'll be cut in half. Okay? So, let's go ahead. We will look at what you get on the system. And accessories. Now, image viewer, that's GPIC view, which I installed in this live session. You won't get that. You get mouse pad, the screenshot utility, of course, Thunar and Xarchiver, and an application finder. Development, that came in with the add, the icon browser. I did not set that to no display equals true so that it wouldn't show up in the menu. So there it is right there. Under graphics, image viewer again. Internet, all you get is the Conman UI or CMST so you can connect to your internet. I don't have a browser installed yet. Multimedia, the only thing you get installed on the system is Pulse Audio Volume Control. I decided I'd just live on the edge this time, and instead of using just plain ALSA, I'd go ahead and install Pulse Audio. I installed Simple Screen Recorder, MPlayer, and GUVC View to do the video. MPlayer's there just so I could check just real quick. MPlayer brings in the least amount of packages from any other video player, audio player, well, maybe not audio player, but any other video player that I've looked into. MPlayer brings in the least amount of packages. doesn't even bring in FFmpeg, and a lot of the other ones do. Other, now these under other, that's where you're going to find the only two MiyoLinux accessories that I included, which is the live keyboard layout where you can change the keyboard layout in a live session, and Thunar as root. If you click on that, you'll have to enter your password, and then Thunar will open as root. And of course, I'm not going to go through all these different settings. It's the Xfce settings. Under system, the only extra thing I installed was BleachBit. I installed GDebi, Gparted, Synaptic, and install MiyoLinux and welcome to MiyoLinux. Those should be removed after installation. Phew. Okay, so let's go ahead and install this bad boy on BIOS instead of EFI. And again, I want to thank Marcus for his interest and for being a user. And I want to thank eznix. Oh, and that reminds me, I want to look at the release notes. I've added one more person to the release notes, and I should have done this a long time ago. I have thanked this person in several different ways over time, but he should have been in the release notes all this time. So let me look at documents, release notes. I'm going to open that with mouse pad. And let's see, how do you increase? There's the font. So let me go up to 16. All right. Now these lines, that's because I increased the font size. That's why they're going double like that. Okay, now first thing you're going to see under the release notes, once you get to this section, is the fix for the high RAM usage. And it's just one command right here that you need to run as root, either su or sudo. Run that, and then after that's finished, reboot your computer, and your RAM usage goes way down. And as I said, many thanks to eznix for providing the fix for me. And I give several ways you can check eznix out online. But the person I added to the special acknowledgements is my friend. I consider him a good friend. Even though we've never met personally, we've had a lot of interactions together online. Station 67. A very special thank you to Station 67. Many years ago, he took a chance on some unknown bloke from across the pond and presented MiyoLinux to the world. And he did. If he hadn't done that, MiyoLinux would probably have never gone beyond my own computer. And that's true. I can't express how thankful I am to him and his willingness to take a chance on me. So thank you, Ghosty, so much. And I just realized I did not, oh dear, I did not put a link to Ghosty's Bandcamp page. I'm going to put that in the description of the video. Ghosty does some great work with music that he produces on Linux, and you can get that music through his Bandcamp page. So I will put a link to that. I meant to do it in the release notes, and it somehow slipped my mind. I'm so sorry. But thank you, Ghosty, for what you did for me. Okay, now let's open the live user notes so that you can see how to install this on a 64-bit BIOS computer. Okay, I'm going to close that. All right. This version of MiyoLinux was made by special request and is only available as a 64-bit EFI ISO. However, if you are using a 64-bit BIOS, you can still install it. Wow! Open a terminal and enter these commands one at a time. Sudo. I don't have to do sudo apt update. I've already done it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Oh, before I do that, I want to switch my theme, my window manager theme. I found online a way to get rid of these title bars. So let me do that. All you do, look at that, no more title bar. Yay! Let me move this up and around a little bit. Oops. All you have to do is create your own theme, and I did that in, well, I'll just show you. Do I already have, I don't need that. Show hidden files. Go to local share, and I had to create a themes folder. Themes. Had to create a name for the theme, which is called, I called it no title bar. Had to create inside of that an XFWM4 folder, and inside of that create a theme RC, and there's nothing in the theme RC. I'll go ahead and open that, and you can see it's blank. Nothing's there. Okay. So I still don't know. I don't know if there's a keyboard shortcut for closing windows. So right now I'm just going to do this. And I don't want the menu bar on this terminal. All right. Let me increase the font size in the terminal so that you can see I'm actually running these commands so that I can install this on a 64-bit BIOS computer. Whoa, that's way too big. Okay, maybe you can see that good. First thing we're going to do is run an apt update, and you can do this as sudo in the live session. Enter, and of course make sure you're connected to the internet. Next we're going to do sudo apt remove grub-efi-amd64. We're going to do that. And yes, I want to remove that. Okay, now we're going to do a sudo apt auto remove to get rid of the other extra packages that came in with grub-efi amd64. Yes. And the last thing is we need to install grub-pc for BIOS. Yes. Now, I don't know if you will get this. I've done this one time before just to check it. I don't know if you'll get this error or not. Writing grub to the boot device failed. Continue. Use your arrow key, go over to yes, and say enter on your computer, on your keyboard. And now we can exit the terminal. So let me close the terminal. And we can finally open the installer from the desktop, or you can go to the system category in the menu and open the installer and begin the installation. So I can close this. I'm going to double click the installer. All right, and if you notice here, blah, 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 continue. That's just for you to read, just giving you some information. Continue. Now, if you look here, it says boot method BIOS. Grub version, grub PC for BIOS boot. So we've got what we need. Continue. If you don't do that and you try to install this on a BIOS computer without removing grub, EFI, AMD64, and then going through what we just went through, it's going to error out on you here and say, hey, this won't work, or something to that effect. It'll sound a little more professional. All right, let's continue. All right, I'm not going to go through all these. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to create a new separate home partition, a separate boot partition, blah, 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 that's up to you, okay? So I'm just going to take what's there, because I'm just putting this on another partition of my hard drive. I'm going to have my other main system. It's still going to be controlling grub. So I'm just putting this on another partition, okay? So I'm going to hit OK. Now it's saying, do I need to, make partitions? I don't, not in this situation. So I'm going to click skip this step. And here are all my partitions. Now what I'm going to do, let's see if I can move this out of the way, move this over a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on SDA3, okay? So choose MBR to install to the MBR of hard disk. In other words, if you want this to be your main system that controls grub, choose MBR. Or you can put it on a partition. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click partition. And it's asking me now, which partition do I want to use? And I want to use SDA3. So I click SDA3 and OK. Choose a partition for the installation of the operating system. I want that on SDA3 also. What type of file system do you want? ext4 is what I want, so OK. It's already highlighted. Select a partition for swap. Well, I already know that I want to put it on SDA2. Okay, so that's the one, SDA2. Click that and click OK. All right, here's a summary of what's going to be done. The bootloader will be installed on SDA3. The system will be on SDA3. Home will not be on a separate partition. Blah, blah, blah. So let's proceed with the installation. Now we should get these windows pop up. It's configuring TZ data. In other words, your time zone. I'm in the US. Hit next. I want Eastern. Next. Now the locales. Now, if you do this, English UTF-8 already going to be checked. In fact, I'll show that to you. So if you're going to install this and you need another locale and you don't want English US to be included, because in a minute it's going to ask you what you want as your preferred locale. I mean, you can leave English US on there if you want to. I'm just letting you guys know it's already going to be check marked. So you can either leave it there and it'll be included, or you can remove the check mark and choose your own locale. Okay, and if you don't know what your locale is, open up a terminal and just enter locale. Oops. And you can see here, there's my locale. I don't know what yours will be, but that's mine. Let's close that. So I'm going to click next. And now it's asking me what I want for the default. And I want that one, English US UTF-8. Next. Now we're going to go through the keyboard layout setup. Generic 105 key PC, that's for me. English US, yes, next. The default for the keyboard layout, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say next. You can go through here and choose different options if you want to. And now it's saying SDA3 contains an ext4 file system that was last mounted yesterday. Do I want to proceed anyway? And here, if you notice, the N is capitalized. So if you want to proceed, you need to type in the letter Y and enter. And this is about to start flying through a lot of stuff. So probably what I'm going to do, it doesn't take long, but I don't have enough to talk about while it's installing. So as this gets going, I'm just going to pause the video. Okay, and here we go. I will come back as soon as this is finished installing. All right, it's almost finished. You're going to have this window pop up. If you need to cheat root into the system for any reason, like to do custom work or install a bootloader manually, come down here and click cheat root. Continue. In other words, by clicking continue, it will proceed whether or not you've installed a bootloader. If you didn't install a bootloader, which that's what we did in the previous steps, we put grub on SDA3, you'll need to have another way to boot this installation. Abort will exit the installer and abort the installation. We don't want to do that. We want to continue. Okay, so click on continue. And this is going to take just a moment. Now here's where you choose your host name. I'm just going to leave it MiyoLinux. You can change that to whatever you want. Username will be Dan, and then capital D-A-N. I don't guess you have to use a capital letter in there, but I always do. And I always like to permit sudo for the new user and keep the root account. Okay. Now we're going to enter passwords. This is the password for the root account. Have to type it twice, or you can use the current password, which is Miyo, if you want to. Hit OK. And now the password for the user, which is me, Dan. Same thing, type it twice, and OK. And it should say installation is finished. It's complete. You can now reboot into the new system. Remember to remove your installation media. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the video because I'm going to have to transfer this video over to my main system so that I can edit the video. And then I will boot into the new system that is installed on 64 BIOS, and we will run that command that will take care of the RAM, okay? Or the high RAM usage. Whew, okay, here we go. I will see you guys momentarily, but it'll be a little while for me. All right, here we are on the installed system. And here we have got our terminal opened. And you can see we're still up there close to 600 megabytes. Let me increase it. I'm sorry. Good grief, that jumps up there big. Okay. There we go. Still close to 600. Okay. So let's open up the release notes so that we can get that that command we need to run. just go on down here and find it real quick. Here it is. Now you need to run this as root, either su or sudo. So let me copy that. I'm just going to do sudo. This is my first boot. Let me run a sudo apt update first. Okay, just to get that out of the way. And now we will do that command to fix the RAM. Not fix the RAM, but fix the high RAM usage. And we will paste that in and hit enter. And it's going through the different icons and updating the caches for them, or caches, however you want to say it. And it's finished. So what I'm going to do is stop the recording now, and I'm going to reboot and take another picture of the RAM usage, okay? Just so you'll see the difference. All right, I will be right back, guys. All right, we're back. Let me increase it again. And you can see now, after running that command and rebooting, it's only using 305. That's still a little higher than it was in the build environment. I think I showed a picture where it was like 280 something, and I'd actually seen it down around 260 something using that many megabytes of RAM, or that little. But that's still 305, still a lot better, at least to me, than 600. All right, so there it is, MiyoLinux Xfce, built by request, and I hope Marcus, I hope you like it and make it your own, man. Do what you want with it. All right, anyone else that tries it, hope you enjoy it. Remember, you can install this on BIOS. It doesn't have to be on EFI. Just follow the instructions. Another big thank you to eznix, and another big thank you to Station 67. All right, that's it. You guys have a good weekend coming up, and take care. Thanks.